For fans of Chicago fire, the screech of sirens and the roar of flames are the familiar sounds of heroism. We're used to seeing the brave men and women of Firehouse 51 walk into the very jaws of danger, emerging moments later, covered in soot but victorious. But every now and then, a call goes sideways, a moment hangs in the balance, and our collective breath catches in our throats. Today, we're taking a look back at one of the most shocking and emotionally charged moments in the show's history. A day when Lieutenant Kelly Severide, the unshakable anchor of Squad 3, faced a tragic accident that left him hospitalized and fighting not just for his own recovery, but for the life of another. It was a moment that sent a seismic shockwave through the entire One Chicago family, a heart-stopping event that reminded us just how fragile even our strongest heroes can be. The call itself started like so many others, a raging inferno in a multi-story building. As always, Severide was in the thick of it, leading his team with the calm, decisive command we've come to rely on. But this call was different. The situation inside was escalating, becoming more unstable by the second. In a harrowing sequence of events that still feels terrifying to rewatch, Severide became the last man inside, ensuring his team's safety before his own. It was then that the unthinkable happened. A sudden, violent explosion sent him flying, a gut-wrenching fall from 3 stories that ended with a sickening thud on the unforgiving pavement below. In that instant, the world stopped. The usual controlled chaos of a fire scene dissolved into a frantic, focused panic for one of their own. Seeing our beloved lieutenant lying broken on the ground was a sight no fan was prepared for. It wasn't just a firefighter down. It was the heart and soul of the firehouse, the loyal friend, the surrogate brother, the man who had pulled so many of his team from the fire, now needing to be rescued himself. The rush to Chicago Med was a blur of flashing lights and frantic prayers. As the doctors swarmed, the true gravity of the situation began to sink in, not just for the audience, but for the entire Firehouse 51 family gathered in the waiting room. Their faces, etched with fear and disbelief, mirrored our own. This wasn't just another injury in the line of duty. This felt different. It felt personal. But the physical toll of the accident, as devastating as it was only the beginning of the story. The true tragedy of Kelly Severide's hospitalization was the cruel, heart-wrenching twist of fate that came with it. At the time, Severide was on the cusp of performing a heroic act of a different kind. He was a confirmed bone marrow match for Anna, a woman battling a life-threatening illness. He was her last hope, her one shot at a future. The procedure was scheduled, the plans were in place, and for the first time in a long time, the often guarded Severide was wearing his heart on his sleeve, fully invested in the hope of saving this woman's life. He was ready to give a piece of himself to give her a lifetime. Then came the doctor's crushing words. The injuries he sustained in the fall, particularly to his back and spine, were severe. The procedure to donate his marrow required an epidural, a medical step that was now impossible due to his fresh trauma. It was a 1-in-a-million complication, a devastating blow that meant he could no longer be the donor. This was the core of the tragedy. It wasn't just about broken bones. It was about a broken promise, a stolen chance. We watched as this incredibly strong, capable man was rendered helpless, not by a fire, but by a medical technicality. The frustration and despair that washed over Severide were palpable. He had survived the fall, but he felt like he was failing in the fight that mattered most. We saw a vulnerability in him that was raw and deeply moving. He wasn't just a patient in a hospital bed. He was a man watching a lifeline he was supposed to provide slip through his fingers. The emotional fallout rippled through Firehouse 51. Stella Kidd, his closest confidant and future wife, was his rock, her own heartbreak overshadowed by her need to support him. Matthew Casey, his brother in all but blood, felt the weight of his friend's pain, that unique burden of leadership and the shared understanding of the risks they take. The entire Firehouse rallied, their usual boisterous energy replaced by a quiet, determined vigil. It was a stark reminder that they aren't just colleagues. They are a deeply interwoven family that bleeds and grieves together. In true Severide fashion, however, he refused to accept defeat. What followed was a testament to his sheer force of will. He fought the doctors, he fought the pain, and he pushed his body to its absolute limit, all for a woman he barely knew but felt a profound connection to. His relentless determination to find a way, any way.